is a very important branch of science. Not only science is a branch of technology where we will be discussing about the different type of here we'll be discussing about the different type of process aspects. Okay, so the first of all, just a minute. First of all, we will be discussing about what are the definitions of bioprocess engineering. Okay, moving on to the next slide. But first of all, let us understand what is bioprocessing. Bioprocessing is a technique that produces a biological materials such as a genetically engineered microbial strain or for commercial use. So, any process of biology which is being converted into an industrial scale, or basically when you are using a genetically engineered microbial strain or any biological material, then that technique of magnifying the particular process is known as bioprocessing. Okay, any process which is going on in a biological environment is known as the bioprocessing. Okay, so uh, the production of a commercially useful chemical or fuel by a biological process such as microbial fermentation or degradation. Okay, suppose antibiotics production. Suppose a microbe is producing a particular antibiotics, and you somebody is undergoing the pharmaceutical technology. In that, what they are doing, they are basically producing some antibiotics. Okay, that antibiotics has been scaled up in the industries, and it is mainly required for the huge amount of production. Okay, so when we are increasing the production, try to increase the production according to our demand, so we have to go for different processes in processes, and that processes are mainly governed in the biological processes. Okay, so the total processes aspects are is coming under the this branch of science, that is uh, bas- not science, basically a branch of engineering, that is bioprocess engineering. Okay, bioprocessing. So one of the most important examples being the production of antibiotics, then production of your bagasse, fuel, biofuel. You all know nowadays biofuel are very much in news. Basically, many biofuel treated equipments are being launched, and all these things are being formed, produced from biological sources, and the process of producing this particular we can produce or treat by means of a bioprocess. So, with this few lines, we can conclude what is the definition of bioprocessing. Now, I am moving on to the next portion. That is, in order to improve process understanding or performance, different automatic tools can be developed. Okay, so basically, when we are understanding bioprocess engineering, we have to know some different aspects, like your some tools you need to know. Basically, the tools are the suppose the sensors, the simulators. Okay, as you are a student of computer science, you might be knowing about the simulators. What are the function of simulators? Simulators are able to produce systemic behavior, software sensors, and then also estimation of unmeasured signals or controllers to maintain optimal conditions. Okay, so as you are producing a huge amount of particular type of an product, so you have to maintain some optimal condition. Okay, and until and unless you are maintaining some optimum condition, you cannot basically you cannot control the whole process. You cannot increase the amount of production you are undergoing. Okay, so all the things can be only be understood when the process is being optimized. Okay, now all these tools rely on a presentation of the considered system, a mathematical model such as a model come in various shapes and phase. Okay, so we all know when a system is working, it must be following some model. Otherwise system is of no use, because you are putting some unknown variables. Suppose you are engaging some raw materials, and which is the known variables, and you are getting some product out of it, and that product is known as the your outcomes. Okay, so a mathematical model is always being followed up when you are going for any bioprocess work. Okay, once the model is established, it can then be used with reasonable confidence to predict performance under different processing conditions. What is happening here? Here it is happening that you can predict the performance. Okay, so when you are putting the requisite conditions, the favorable factors, then the performance can be predicted, and uh, and when you are controlling the design parameters and the optimization and the control, then only you can understand how the experiment can go for put forward. Okay, so what is happening in experimental data, you require to validate the model, but the quantity of data required as compared to the empirical approach is considerably reduced. So what is happening, you are suppose you are undertaking some experimental, suppose a product. Suppose you are making some aromatic essence, okay, from flowers. That is also a bioprocessing part only. You are producing some perfumes, okay. So you are extracting the aroma of some flower out of it. So this process can also be considered under bioprocess, because the source of your material is the biological sample, that means a plant or a flower. When you are giving the requisite condition or a satisfied model, that means what is the temperature of extraction, what should be the light condition, how the pressure should be regulated to extract the essence. So all these things are coming under the different type of factors which is controlling the optimization. Okay, and that control is being done by the mainly done by the bioprocessing parameters. Okay, so when the parameters are at per your consideration, then only you can go for the uh, performance of the experiment, and you can predict how much amount of data you can get, or how much amount of product you can get. Here I have given the example of a perfume. From this process, when is getting optimized, you can understand how much amount of essence, or how many liters of uh, perfume you can extract from a particular flower. Okay, so this is just an example. Beside this example, there are many other common examples, like production of biofuels, like your production of different type of medicines, pharmaceutical products, then different type of antibiotics. These are also coming under pharmaceutical products. Then production of your different type of sugar industries, they are refining the sugar, and they are also using the molasses from the plant. All these things are coming under the bioprocessing engineering. Okay, so and the next one, what are the general aspects of the modeling approach? Okay, so until and unless you finalize the model, you cannot go for the further steps. Okay, so what is happening, the first of all, we are trying to optimize the model. Okay, so optimization of the model basically requires different type of factors to control. Okay, now the basic use of a process model is to analyze experimental data and to use this to characterize the process. So what is happening, the you are analyzing the models influencing a particular uh, process, and you are uh, optimizing the process by regulating the different type of factors controlling the particular experiment. Okay, so how it can be done? It can be done by modeling and simulation approach, leading to following advantages. So when you are applying some modeling and simulation approaches, you are getting some advantage out of it. So modeling improves understanding, models helps in experimental design, may be used to predictively design and control, and can be used in training and education, and also for process optimization. The last one is very important, process optimization, because in bioprocess engineering, process optimization is very necessary, because until and unless you optimize the process, you cannot understand how much amount of yield you will get, how much amount of products you will be getting at the end of your process. Okay, so the next thing which we will be considering after the modeling aspects are clear are how the modeling procedure can be designed. That means how you can materialize or optimize a model, and how you can use a model to predict the bioprocess of a particular sample or a process. Okay, so what are the steps of stages in the modeling procedure? First of all, proper definition of the problem. Okay, before going on to designing the model, you need to figure it out which what is the problem. I mean, what is the requirement of a particular process. Now you may call it, how will I define it? Yes, you can do it by, suppose you are, again I'm giving the example of the aromatic industries. When you are producing essence of from a particular flower, the problem here stands is that how much amount of essence you are getting from a particular flower. Okay, so that is the problem you are facing in the particular process. Now when you are moving on to the next thing, that is how you will go for the mathematical formulations. You can do whatever you can. First of all, after figuring out the problem, you have to express the particular problem in the form of mathematical terms. Okay, what are the mathematical terms? Suppose the volume of the essence, that means V volume, that means the pressure under which the suction is being carried out, that is the P. So these are some mathematical terms. Okay, numerical methods of solution with digital simulation. You have to do simulation, you all know, then only you can solve the problems. Okay, validity of the solution depends on the correct choice of theory, physical and mathematical model, and the ability to identify model parameters correctly and accuracy in the numerical solution method. So numerical solution is nothing but a different mode of solutions are there. So numerical models are mainly associated with the production of the solution of a particular problem in the form of numerical data. Now, care and judgment must be taken such that the model does not become over complex. One important point regarding the stages of modeling procedure is mainly the care and judgment. That is, care and judgment must be taken such that the model does not become over complex. That means you have to consider very important point that mm, you have to consider the factors in such a way that the overall process does not become complex. Okay, so you have to consider all these points when you are going for different stages of modeling. Okay, so once we are done with the modeling, now we are going to the formulation of dynamic models. Okay, so a model cannot be always a static model, isn't it? The when some process is going on, obviously the model should be dynamic. Dynamic in the sense that means continuously it is changing. It is not static. That means you are not getting a constant value out of it from at a particular point of time. The amount of data you are getting is always changing. So the formulation of dynamic model is very important. So mass balance equations has to be considered. You all know that mass balance, mass and energy, basically these two components, M and C, this two components are always in a balanced state in the environment. So a balance is maintained in any process undergoing in the environmental condition. So the system is always maintaining a balancing relation with the surrounding, and this system and surrounding balance is known as the overall balance or the ultimate balance of the system. So mass balance equations, first of all, the steady state balances. Basic principle is that of conservation of mass. This thing I have already mentioned, that conservation of mass and energy is very important to understand the different type of aspects which you are considering. Dynamic total rate of the mass flow into the system equal to rate of mass flow out of the system. So when we are considering the conservation of mass equations, we have to consider that the amount of mass flowing into a system is equal to the mass flowing out. Now again, if we are considering the aroma production, amount of substance entering means, suppose the amount of essence you are uh, flower you are entering inside the system, you will get equal amount of you will get equal amount of your essence from a particular system. So the mass balance is always maintained when a bioprocess or a dynamic model is considered. Okay. Dynamic total mass balance. If a steady state mass balance is inappropriate and must be replaced by a dynamic or unsteady state mass balance, expressed at rate of accumulation of mass in the system, rate of mass flow in minus rate of mass flow out. So, when we are considering any dynamic process, dynamic means when the process is continuously under changes. That means when the product and the reactants are changing, then we are considering the model as a dynamic model. So in this, what is happening in this dynamic model, the rate of accumulation, that means some amount of mass will be accumulated in the system. And how will you calculate the amount of mass accumulated in the system? By measuring rate of mass in minus rate of mass out. That means amount entering in a particular system and the amount going out of the system, the subtraction or the difference of the two will give us the amount of substance is retained by the system. Okay, so the uh, s- amount of material retained by the system is calculated in such a way. So, the rate of accumulation terms represent the rate of change in the total mass of the system with respect to time, and that steady state is equal to 0. Why steady state is equal to 0? At the steady state, that means no change is taking place in a particular system. That means the amount of substance entering a system and the amount of substance going out of the system is equal. So, when these two are equal, when these two are equal, that means you are basically uh, observing a steady state condition. That means there is no accumulation of substances taking place in the system. But basically what happens, not all the time the steady state is not maintained, and the accumulation is occurring. Now this accumulation is the rate of change in total mass of the system. The rate of accumulation is 0 when mass in and mass flow in and mass flow out are equal. Okay, and in steady state this mass flow in is equal to mass flow out, but in unsteady condition the rate of accumulation is equal to the rate of change of mass of the system. That means if we consider A as the rate of accumulation, so dA dt, you are differentiating the you're taking the differential of the accumulation. The GADT is proportional to DMDT, that means change in mass flow rate of the system, that is DMDT. Okay. Now, the next thing is the chemical kinetics of the bioprocess engineering. So, you can understand that any process if going on is always will be a chemical reaction is occurring, isn't it? All the bioprocess undergoing in a particular system is involved in some chemical kinetics. Okay, so chemical reaction is continuously taking place in a particular particular system where, and we have to consider those chemical reactions when we are going for different type of varieties. Okay, so rate of chemical reaction, how dVCdt is equal to RIV, that means expenses terms of volume and concentration. V is the volume and C is the concentration. So what is happening, change in concentration or the of a system is equal to RV, that means the volume of the system at a particular point, and R is the constant, rate constant. Okay, this is equivalent to the units of mole per time. Here R is the rate of chemical reactions and expressed as a change in number of moles of a given reactant per unit time. So from here you can learn about the unit of R. The unit of R is a bit complicated as it is the change of number of moles of a given reactant product per unit time per unit volume of the reaction system, and it is equivalent to how the changes are the rate of the reaction is observed. It is mainly done in the form of units of moles per time. Now the equation can also be expressed as RA equal to minus K CaCb. Okay, here K is the reaction rate constant. I have already mentioned that there should be reaction considering a reaction where the reactants are A and B and they are reacting among themselves to produce a product. So the rate of reaction is expressed as the product of your concentration of the reactant, and the proportionality is been maintained by the constant rate constant, that is the K. Okay, and alpha plus beta is the overall order of the reaction. Order of the reaction you all know. You have already read about all these things in your chemistry classes. In the physical chemistry, basically the chapter was chemical equilibrium, I think. In that you have read about the order, and alpha and beta is the total order of the particular reaction. Okay, so this is all about your chemical reactions involving in a bioprocess engineering. Okay, now coming to the next important aspect, that is a bioreactor. Okay, what is a bioreactor? Bioreactor is nothing but the container. If I crudely say, I mean in a very layman's language, that in any container where a bioprocess is going on is known as the bioreactor. Any bioprocess which is occurring in the environment or any place is undergoing inside a chamber, isn't it? Now the closed chamber where all the conditions of the growth is maintained is known as the bioreactor. Bioreactor is nothing but reactor. You all know in chemical engineering, reactor is a very important concept. In that, some chemical reactions are continuously taking place inside an enclosed chamber, and here bioreactor, why? Because you are undergoing the chemical reactions between the biological products. So this bioreactor is the next important thing of today's lecture. Okay, now bioreactor may refer to any manufactured or engineering device or system biological that supports a biological active environment. So bioreactor may refer to any manufactured or engineering design device or system that supports a biologically active environment. So what is happening when engineering device or a chamber that supports a biologically active environment, that means the environment which is required for the growth of a particular microbe or any biological process to undergo, that environment is being maintained inside the bioreactor. Okay, now this process can either be aerobic or anaerobic, and these bioreactors are commonly cylindrical, hanging ranging in size from liters to cubic meters. That means that these bioreactors are first designed, this bioreactor is a huge aspect in biotechnology, like your fermentation technology, then bioprocess engineering, then bioreactor design and techniques. All these subjects are dealing with the your bioreactor. So bioreactor is a well studied subject, and many things you need to know when you want to study about bioreactor. Okay, so basically the size ranges from liter to cubic meters and are often made of stainless steel. That means the bioreactor is a huge amount, is a huge big sizes are there, as because I have already mentioned that when you are undergoing any biological processes in an industrial background, you need huge amount of production, isn't it? You need huge amount of antibiotics, you need huge amount of perfume or any product you are trading in. So you need to produce huge amount of products. For that reason you require huge amount of space, and that space was given by this bioreactor. So they are mainly cylindrical in shape, and their sizes may vary from 5 liter to 20 liter, 30 liter, anything. Okay, 5 liters are lab based, basically lab based bioreactors. In our department we have a 5 liter bioreactor. You can visit our department to observe that equipment anytime you want. Bioreactor may also refer to a device or system meant to grow cells or tissue in a context of cell culture. Okay, so you are growing a particular type of a cell inside the bioreactor, and then that your cell culture is maintained inside the bioreactor. These devices are being developed for use of using tissue engineering or biochemical engineering. Okay, So, biochemical engineering basically covers all the thing, all your product, all your chemicals, or your any phenyl production, any type of your adhesive production, everything which you are getting from any biological sample comes under the biochemical engineering. And tissue engineering is also very important, where you are dealing with the grafting and tissues, like you are culturing some human tissues or animal tissues. So all these things are being can be used in our bioreactor. On the basis of mode of operation, the bioreactor may be classified as batch, and continuous. An example of a continuous bioreactor is the chemostat. Okay, so the actually basically there are different types of bioreactor. Okay, but the basic categorization of the bioreactor, when we are doing the three components I should mention, that is, for the first one is the batch reactor, second one is the fed batch reactor, and third one is the continuous reactor. Okay, so these are the three different type of reactor which is very important when you are considering any bio reactor. Okay, so you can in this slide I have not mentioned about this three categories in detail, but I should verbally give you an idea what does these three components differ from. Okay, so for the first one is the batch. Batch means nothing but when you are putting all the reactants together in a particular bioreactor and starting the reaction, and you are not adding anything in the middle of the reaction, so this is known as batch. And fed batch means when you are adding some component in the midway, when the reaction is being going on inside the bioreactor. So fed batch, that means you are feeding the batch in after intermediate times. The last is the continuous. Continuous means some amount of your reactants is entering and some amount of product is going out. So it is a continuous process. That means you are continuously adding some component into the system, and continuously some component is being escaping out from the system. Okay, so basically the a continuous process is a process in which your different type of components are moving in and moving out of the reactor. And an example of continuous reactor is the continuous star tank reactor. Okay, in this continuous star tank reactor, what is happening, the basically you are going for the different type of actually basic many bioreactors are the most common bioreactor example is the continuous star tank reactor. Now we will be explaining about this continuous star tank reactor now. And almost we are at the end of the today's lecture. 3 to 4 slides are left. So continuous star tank reactor, we will be talking about this now. And we continuous starting reactor is also known as CSTR. Basically, CSTR is the well-known name actually. So let us consider how this reactor is working. Okay, CSTR, also known as VAT or back mixed reactor, is a common ideal reactor type in chemical engineering. A CSTR often refers to a model used to estimate the QE unit operation variables when using a continuous agitated tank reactor to reach a specified output. Okay, so what is happening? CSTR is using a model to estimate the unit operation. That means they are continuously undergoing some process. That means some reactor is being continuously added and the product is continuously being formed. Okay, so liquid gases and slurries are being formed. The integral mass balance or number of moles of species, Ni of the species, and in a reactor of volume. Accumulation, again, this system is also maintaining the mass balance concept. That means the accumulation is equal to in minus out plus generation. Okay, so these things is being always maintained when we are considering any bioprocess topics, process basically. Okay, so dn by dt, that is n is the number of moles being produced accumulated. So dn by dt is known as the your basically dn by dt is given by the particular type of a reaction in this in minus out plus generations. Okay, so dn by dt is equal to fi0 minus fi plus fv vi ri. So what is it, this all these terms, f means flow rate. Okay, flow rate of I naught means in the amount is getting inside, that is in, and out, that is fi, it is going out, and plus VIRI, that means amount of generation. That means some product is forming inside the system, so the amount of generation is important. So dn by dt equal to fi0 minus fi plus VIRI. Constant density valid for most liquids, valid for gases only if there is no change in number of moles or drastic temperature. So this is the process is being considered under isothermal condition, steady state, single reversible reaction. These are basically the conditions under which the continuous starter reactor is working. Okay, and this is the main equation governing the reaction. So the next slide is about the structure of the reactor. So this is a continuous start tank reactor. You can see this is the cylindrical main bioreactor. This is the start tank bioreactor, and you can see this is the cross type of a thing is the starter. Starter, you all know, when you are mixing something in your home also, you are using some starter. So the starter is giving some mechanical force into the system, and they are mixing the products, and this is increasing the rate of reactions. Okay, so this pumping is being attached. So this pump are being attached to the main bioreactor. So the it is the product is going coming out through this red arrow, and the green media is again entering, not green, gray colored arrow is entering the bioreactor. Okay, so the inlet and outlet of the bioreactor is getting controlled, and then this Parma select is not the nothing but the membrane module, and gas is going out and conditioning gas is getting inside. So what is happening in basically in this section, I have already mentioned, in continuous starting reactor your product will continuously being produced and your reactants is continuously being added. So this is a continuous process. Now this process is being described in this model, and in this model you can see that some amount of media is entering the jar of, that means the bioreactor, and some amount is going out, and this is through the membrane. That means they need to filter it out when you are entering anything in the reactor. So these membranes are used, and some amount of extra gases are produced which are being exited out, and some amount of gases are also entering for the process to carry out. Okay, so this is just is a schematic diagram of the continuous starting reactor, and this is nothing but the overall I mean the main structure of the starting reactor. So this is the motor operating, and the starter is responsible for moving the object inside it, and this is the agitator. That means the starter agitator is the same thing, that this uh, particular component is responsible for causing agitation inside the inside the system, and the baffle is there. So baffle is responsible for reducing the foam production, cooling jackets to maintain the temperature, and the mixed product is going out and the feed is going in. So this is the overall diagram of the continuous start and reactor. Okay, so now next important thing which we'll be dealing now is the sensor. So this is the last topic of today's lecture. Sensor means what? Sensor means what? You all know about the sensor, because in our day-to-day life there are different type of sensors you are using to measure different type of components in our day-to-day life. Okay, the most common example being the thermometer. You are using a thermometer to measure the body temperature. So this is a sensor which is sensing the body temperature, and then you are using different type of pH probes in your chemical labs to understand what is the pH of the particular chemical reaction is going on. So all this parameters are measured by means of some electronic components, and that electronic component is known as the sensor. Okay. Now, an industrial feedback control loop is made up of a controller, actuator system, the process, and a sensor system. The sensor system are composed of sensor, transmitter, and associated signal processing. Okay, so sensor system has some function. Okay, Now this function is basically what, not function, the sensor has some component. The first is the uh, sensor, that means the which is responsible for capturing the signal, and transmitter, that means when you are transmitting the signal, and processing the signal, that is the signal processing. So these are the three important steps or three important components of a particular sensor. And a sensor measures certain quantities like voltage, current, resistance associated with the device in contact with the process. That means when you are putting some sensor to a reactor, you are trying to understand what is happening inside it and what are the different factors responsible for the controlling of the system. Okay, there are two classification of sensor: continuous measurement, discrete measurement. Continuous measurement, the term implies generally continuously available, while discrete measurement updated at discrete times. From the name itself, you can understand continuous measurement means when you are getting the data, when you are getting the temperature data or pH or voltage data continuously, that means at every time points you are getting the data, then you are telling it as continuous measurement. And discrete measurement means when you are not getting a continuous data, you are getting some the data at some particular time points you have mentioned in the system. That concept is known as discrete measurement. Okay, so the important sensor systems are used to understand the pressure, temperature, level. Flow sensor typically yields continuous measurement, while composition analyzer provide discrete measurement. So example of your continuous measurement is the temperature, pressure, flow sensor. All these things are continuous monitoring is very important. While certain composition analyzer, that means how much amount of media or gas is present, that comes under the discrete measurement. Okay. So the last thing, that is, what are the different several terms used in performance of a sensor, like span, zero, accuracy, repeatability, process. I'm not going into the deep detail of each of the terms. You must have read about all these terms because in computer science and electronics, people are dealing with the sensors for a long time. So, accuracy, that means how much accurate the readings are. Repeatability, that means you have to repeat the readings again and again so that you can get the data out of it. So these are all the factors you need to consider, all the terms you need to understand when you are going for your sensors. Now, these are the examples of some important sensors. Temperature measurement. The two primary temperature sensing devices used is the thermocouples, okay, and resistance used in since when you are measuring the particular system. Pressure measurement, the most commonly used pressure sensing device is strain gauge. So if you are asked to write about some pressure measuring sensor, you can write about strain gauge. Flow measurement, when you are measuring the F, that is the flow of a particular system, and you are using the sensor is the flow meter, or it is also known as orifice meter. Level measurement, that means how much the level of the water or the fluid is present inside the system. The most commonly type of level measurement is based upon measuring the hydrostatic head in the vessel under differential pressure environment. So the high level, low level, or medium level of media or water present in a particular equipment is very necessary to consider. So the level measurement is very important in this case. Okay, so with this slide we are ending today's lecture.